Coming up on In-Flight Snack, Bilal and I previewed the Jets' big opportunity in Buffalo. It's right in front of them. This team can make the playoffs. This team can win the division. You have 2 divisional games in front of you. It's time to take it by the horns and go get it. The Jets, it's right in front of you. Go to Buffalo, a team that's in shambles right now, and just win a football game. You have Buffalo's number. You can do it. I believe in this Jets team. We'll give you our score predictions. We also talked about some big news. Michael Carter was cut. They talked about Izzy Abanikanda. There was a players-only meeting. Aaron Rodgers made some news again, as he tends to do. A whole lot to talk about without even talking about Zach Wilson on this episode. All that and a whole lot more coming up next on In-Flight Snack. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling, and college basketball is ready to go as well. BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, and NHL are all in full swing, and BetOnline is your number one source for your wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport, available at your fingertips with desktop and mobile access anytime. Head to BetOnline today and remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Let's go empty. Shotgun Fitzpatrick. Underneath. Powell catching current. Powell stays on his feet. He's gone. Touchdown. Jets. Bilal Powell.
Hurts facing a 4-man rush over the middle. It's intercepted. Picked off by Tony Adams. Adams on the run. Breaking tackles. Tossed down inside the 10. Tries this year. Wilson looking to the end zone. The 2-point try is good.
Takes the snap, drops the throw on 4th and 8. Well protected, looks left, heaves a bomb down the middle of the field. It is broken up by Jordan Whitehead. The Jets are gonna win it.
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets. Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Yo, it's Quinn Wins here, and you listen to In-Flight Snack on the Believe Podcast Network.
Welcome back to In-Flight Snack, a New York Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Rami, Lavi. That's Bilal, Powell. Good Thursday morning to everyone. It's Bills week. First, before we do anything else, we shared some terrible misinformation on this podcast last week, and it's mostly your fault, Bilal. You said you were 1 for 1 in your career, and we even made a social clip out of this. You said you were 1 for 1 in your career throwing the football. I still believe you'd be a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. Oh, not allowed to talk about him on the podcast. We swore him off. You're 1 for 2. You had a pass in the Gase year that you did not complete. Now, I know you probably tried to block the Gase year out of your memory based on everything we've talked about. You, me, Quincy, anyone who's been on this podcast seems to have wanted to block that 2019 year out of their memory. But it happened, and you missed a pass. So you're a 50% passer in your career in the NFL. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am. And I forgot all about that one. That was the Redskins game to Jamison Crowder. And
I think I remember that.
To my defense, I'm not a quarterback, right? I'm not a quarterback. But I was thinking like a quarterback. And when I got this ball and I was supposed to throw it to a wide open Jamison Crowder, I saw a safety going over the top of him. So I was trying to hit the back shoulder and I just couldn't quite. It hit his hands, though. It wasn't like I threw it in the stand. It hit his hands, and he dropped it. It wasn't a perfect pass, but it did hit his hands. So, yeah. I'm
Do you remember who you
50%. I'll
completed
take
it
that,
to? Do you remember who you completed it to against Miami, though? Week 17
Absolutely.
against
Jeff
Miami?
Cumberland. He should have got an end zone.
There you go. Yeah, he fell down.
He should have got an end zone on that one.
So
Sniff
I
one.
went to go find it for the social clip. I went to go find the video, and I was watching that game, and I was like, damn, you invented the tush push, the brotherly shove. You shoved Geno Smith on a QB draw into the end zone from behind. He was stopped like a good 2 yards short. And here comes Bilal Powell and shoves him in the back.
I had to. I mean, that was just in a moment, too. I'm like, man, we can't afford to get stopped this time. Like, get in there, Geno. I should have trademarked that, the tush push.
Yeah,
I probably
exactly.
would've
If
been
you
a
would have thought of it,
billionaire, right? By now.
yeah, exactly. I like brotherly shove better just because it's Philadelphia, so brotherly love, brotherly shove. But anytime
Yeah.
any other team tries to do it, tush push is what it is. So yeah, and with the Jets, this is what they do.
Mhm.
I mean, you're wearing the Knicks cap. I'm wearing a Knicks hoodie today. I don't know if people see that. I'm ready to just talk about Jalen Brunson's game in Atlanta last night. Did you watch that? Gus Johnson on the call with Wally Zerbiak. Wally's the most boring person in America, but Gus Johnson came back to call a Knicks game, and as the game's winding down, he's getting more and more into it. Brunson Burner. You know, he's got nicknames for everyone. Lionheart, Josh Hart. Did you watch any of that? No?
I didn't, bro. Listen, when you have kids and they got sports, bro, that takes up most of your time. Man.
I feel that. So the Knicks, Julius Randle, triple double. RJ Barrett sat again. The team wins their first game without RJ playing this year. They were 0-3 with RJ out of the lineup. RJ been good this year. All right, let's talk about the Jets because this is a Jets podcast, and you want to be out on them. We talked about this on Monday. I think this team's going to be 4-7. We'll get to that a little bit later. We don't believe in the quarterback. They're not going to make a change. The season's essentially over. They're watching it slip away. Why would Rodgers come back? And then they pull you back in. Even when the Jets do everything in their power to knock you down and to tell you that they are out of it and they don't want anything to do with winning this year, they find a way. The football gods are like, no, we are going to pull you back in. And they do it by having the Bills lose in a wild game. Of course, there's the penalty first that gets them. Russell Wilson underthrows a ball by a million feet, and there's a pass interference called. And I don't understand why they call the pass interference on those, where it's, if Russell Wilson makes a good throw, it's a touchdown anyway. But no, he underthrows it by literally like 20 yards, and the guy, not actually, but, and the guy gets shoved trying to come back for the ball, obviously, because it's thrown so short. So that's why it's like, if you throw it short, you will be rewarded with a pass interference call, more likely than not. So throw it short. And they get the PI call. Then they line up for the field goal, as we all know. They miss it, but the Bills have 12 men on the field. And then the Bills, a second chance for the Denver Broncos to win it, and the Broncos win it. Just a wild game. The Bills did everything wrong in this game, turned it over a million times, still had a chance to win. But I told you can't mess with fate. The Jets are in another position now where they must win because the division is right there. The Bills are 5-5. You're 4-5. You go into Buffalo, you knock them below 500, you get back to 500. All of a sudden, you're looking at a game for first place in the division on Black Friday against Miami. How does this team keep doing this to us, Bilal?
Man, listen, every game from here on out is a big game. I don't care if it's divisional, conference. Every game is a big game from here on out. And honestly, the Jets are still in control of the outcome of their season right now. This is probably the biggest game of the year. I think this will determine the rest of their year. And they need to win this game. They need to win this game. It's going to be a tough game. Obviously, Josh Allen has been like reckless with the football over there. And you know, I feel like they're giving him too much leeway. They're not reeling him back in and say, hey, you're out of control. He's playing wild and just reckless football right now. So I do think that our defense matches up well with the Buffalo Bills. My only concern is, again, we'll talk about it later, but we are in control of this outcome, man. And, you know, like you said, every time we seem to try to mess this up, we're reeled back into a good position. And now you have an opportunity to go into Buffalo, who fired the OC. All right.
Dorsey,
and they're struggling. They don't look like the Buffalo Bills in previous years. You got a chance to really, really sit here and think as a player. And I'm just talking to you as a player. And what you're thinking about in the season when there's like this chance of making the playoffs and then chance of like not making the playoffs. And, you know, you have that one coach that say, hey, guys, we keep fighting. We can get in there. What the New York Jets do not want is to go in and lose this game. And then the rest of the season has to be determined by the outcome of what other teams are doing. Like, we don't need that type of situation where,
especially this early on.
No, we don't want to lose and then have to worry about Vegas winning or losing, or other teams losing or winning. This team to do to get in when it's right in front of us right now. We're still in control of this thing to beat the Buffalo Bills, who we already beaten, who we proven we can beat in earlier this year. And then go on to play Buffalo, and then go on to play Miami, who hasn't beaten a team over 500 or under 500. You know what I mean? So it's still laid out for us. And New York Jet fans, this is probably the most stressful season I've had watching Jets football, because I'm part of a podcast and I'm talking about my thoughts. And some of the games, like you said, Rami, man, they're not even exciting to watch. It's like holding your breath every time. It's no ease. It's like high blood pressure, anxiety. All these things are just going through your head when you watch the New York Jets. And right now, man, they got the perfect opportunity still in front of them. And hopefully they can pull it out, man.
Yeah, and one of the anxieties and one of the things that comes with watching the Jets, because they pulled you back in, like you said, they control their own destiny, and it's going to be the same thing on Sunday again, sitting there, edge of your couch, just like, oh my God, the 4:25 game. So you'll get a bunch of red zone in before and watch all of that, and then you sit down and you just cross your fingers and hope that they find a way to score a touchdown, because that's what they haven't done. But one of the new things, the wrinkles that we've gotten this year, is that we get Aaron Rodgers updates every single game. This guy hasn't played since 4 snaps into the season. And we hear something before the game, something during the game, and then he goes on McAfee on Tuesday and walks it back. I didn't really say that. I kind of said that. This is every single week now. And the most recent thing, though, it's important to mention this, because if this team can somehow stay afloat, look, they lost 3 in a row. Then they won 2. Then they won 3 in a row. Then they lost 2 in a row. So it's kind of been that seesaw, as you expect with the Jets, right? So if they rattle off another couple straight wins, they'd be really right in the thick of things if they beat 2 divisional teams. And Rodgers said, if we're in it, which I think this team's going to be in it, I'm going to come back this year. He said it for the first time, where he straight out came out and said, I plan on being back in mid-December. And that he said he didn't give a date. That's the part that he walked back. But he's looking at some time in that Cleveland game area. They just lose Deshaun Watson. This guy actually wants to come back. And I'm sorry, all the Zach truthers who have been in mine and your DMs and in our comment section the last 2 days, like, are they going to even want Rodgers back? They love Zach Wilson so much. I don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. And, they talk about the issues that are around Zach Wilson, like the offensive line, the drops, the fumbles, the penalties. Listen, every quarterback is dealing with that. They're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with drops. They're dealing with penalties. They're dealing with all of these things, and yet they still find a way to win football games. They still find a way to have an exciting offense to watch. Like, this offense is not exciting to watch with Zach Wilson as a quarterback. And I'm gonna be honest, and I have to be honest. I can't be biased. Like, all of the issues, like no one was like talking about Geno Smith when he was in this organization, and the things that he was struggling with. When I was watching, I knew that Geno Smith was a great talent, and we were signing guys off the street same week. They come in, don't even know the offense. He's throwing to new receivers every week. Didn't really have that veteran leadership and guys being vocal at the time, and just didn't have the skilled players. But yet he went on to be successful somewhere else. Like, I'm not saying that Zach Wilson very well could be a starting quarterback. He's just not a starting quarterback here. Some guys can't handle that New York. They can't handle this New York, this fan base. They can't handle the whole thing about the idea of New York, man. Some guys just can't handle this. It's just different, man. It's a big media market. All eyes are on you when you don't even think they are. Like, people are always talking about the Jets. I'm hearing the Jets. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm hearing people talking about the New York Jets. They're asking about the New York Jets, and everybody's saw what happened to Aaron Rodgers. So you're on a big platform where other quarterbacks and other teams, they don't get that. No, they don't get that recognition. So Zach Wilson is on a big platform right now playing. But yet, you talk about the issues around him, and we talk about, and I'll compare it like this. Dalvin Cook was brought in, signed a $7 million deal. He hasn't been performing well. He hasn't. He's averaging 3 yards a carry. the same offensive line that Breece Hall is running behind, who's averaging 5. So when people talk about the issues around him, the offensive line for the excuse of Zach Wilson's performance, Breece Hall is running behind that same offensive line, and yet he's finding a way to create yards out the contact because he's a baller. That's what ballers do.
And
It's
the
either
offensive
in you
line
or it's not.
was the offensive line was fine against Vegas too. Like
Yeah,
there was no issue
exactly.
against Vegas.
Nothing. Like, so to me, if you're not looking at the game, I'm looking at this Vegas game, and I'm seeing Zach Wilson throw to Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson is catching balls in tight windows. Why? Because Zach Wilson eyes is taking this guy into danger. He's locked in on one guy. That's easy. That's high school. That's college.
And Collinsworth talked about it on the broadcast. Collinsworth basically said like they're making it a one read kind of
and
concept
it's
for him.
killing, and that's sad. That's sad that you have to dumb down an offense for a guy who's
And
a
then people want to
professional, who's
blame
considered a
Hackett.
professional, who's
People want to blame
considered a
Hackett. He
professional.
has to do this. Hackett has to do because of what he has at quarterback.
Exactly. Like he has to, and people have to realize that like your game plan goes from this to this very little. It goes from being able to pick whatever you want in your offensive playbook to, oh, I got to go all the way down to this to fit this guy. And then when you go down all the way that, you realize this guy is really like not the commander on the field. So now you have to really like simplify the game plan. Like that was a simple offense that I saw versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And
well,
for him to be a professional quarterback, we can't have that. Like there's no savvy in Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Like this is his 3rd year playing right now. The same guy. Let's be honest. Breece Hall is running behind the same offensive line. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. So let's not say that he's making plays, right? The balls that do, obviously, Garrett Wilson has dropped some footballs. Alan Lazard has dropped some football. There has been penalties, but every quarterback in the National Football League is facing the same thing right now, Rami. So that's not an excuse to say that this guy should not be in the starting lineup. That he should have been. There should have been another player that came in to get his team an opportunity to win. Are they winning? Yeah, absolutely, because the defense is doing a good job. And we can't sit up here. I can't sit up here and watch a team that solely has to base their wins off of the turnover margin. We have to hope and pray that we get turnovers because we're not putting up points on the other side. Let's be honest. And a lot
they haven't scored a touchdown.
They haven't, and not the whole problem isn't Zach Wilson. There's things, yeah, absolutely. There's other things that are around it, but good quarterbacks fix those problems. Having a good quarterback fixes those problems. We see it. Mac Jones got benched twice because of his performance in New England.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. Like
you're acting like there's no other.
And I don't want to talk about it. I don't. But every quarterback in the National Football is having these issues. All right. Where are we going next with it?
Yeah, no, I agree. We said we're not talking about him on the podcast anymore. It's stupid. And yeah, every quarterback has these issues, and every quarterback overcomes them. To act like he's the only one who has offensive line or play calling, or like you just know this because you're the Jets. Like even Kenny Pickett sucks, and he's finding ways to win games and to influence winning at the end of the day. And he's awful, and he's dealing with headaches of guys complaining that they're not getting the ball, and Matt Canada, they're chanting fire Canada at every single Steelers game. And guess what? They're finding what they're 6-3. They have a negative point differential. Like they have a negative yards in every single game so far this year. Whatever. I can't believe we're talking about this because we got 4 snaps of Rodgers. This was supposed to be, I said this a couple episodes ago, this was supposed to be different, and it upsets me. And the Rodgers thing pisses me off too. And now it's like every time he makes it about himself, I'm mad. And it's like, why? Because we got 4 snaps and we deserved better. But Robert Saleh is still going to go to the media and say, Zach's actually playing pretty well. It's really a team effort. And here's my issue with that. When you say Zach's playing pretty well and you're trying to be a player's coach, you're actually doing the opposite of being a player's coach, because you're telling everyone else in the room that it's all your guy's fault. It's not his fault. It's Garrett Wilson's fault, who's literally getting himself killed out there, like you said, with these tight window passes. He was injured 3 times in the game because of Zach Wilson. You're telling the offensive line, who's a makeshift offensive line, who's coming in on short notice and actually doing a great job for what they are, and you're saying you guys are doing a bad job. You're telling the tight ends you guys are doing a bad job. The running backs, Breece Hall is running 5 yards per carry. You're doing a bad job. So that's kind of ridiculous, right? Don't you think that's kind of ridiculous?
I think so. It is. And then you're saying to your defense, statistically, I told you, I said, man, listen, where they sit at in the statistics, it shouldn't even be close had they had a decent offense. Like you're putting so much pressure.
Touchdown.
Yeah,
One.
just score. And then even when he stepped out on when he stepped out of bounds last week.
Yeah, the 3-yard line. Yep.
I'm like, it's just, just the little things of awareness. I mean, things happen, but it's just like little things that like separate you, man. Like having an awareness of where you are on the field. We saw the miss throw to Alan Lazard down the left sideline.
Yep.
We saw him lock his eyes in when they were driving the ball down to go on to win, and he locked in on this guy. The linebacker ran right underneath it. Like,
yep.
Don't sit and tell me that had anything to do with a tight end or an offensive lineman. He locked in on it. The guy read it. Interception, game over. Like, go through your progression. Like, it's quick game. Go through your progression. Like, I don't see his eyes scanning the field like a professional quarterback. Honestly, I don't see it. Like, I know I play running back, but I understand defenses, and I understand my progression was D-line. I found the D-line. I understood what the front was. I understood that allowed me to identify my linebackers. And then when I identify my linebackers, I identify my safeties. I identified the rotation and moving. I saw if a safety was backed up over a nickel back, there was a possibility of a blitz. Like, I knew all of these things. I knew when there was an underfront that there was a possibility that the blitz was probably coming from the strong side if they were bringing any kind of pressure. Like, I knew those things, those things. Like, and I was a running back. So those are the things you need to understand as a quarterback when I'm talking about Zach Wilson being a quarterback and not him being a problem, but him being a quarterback in the National Football League. The things that you should know as a professional quarterback in your third year. The basic things of being able to identify coverages. That way you don't have to lock in on your reads. You can go through your progressions. And if it's man to man, you know which side that you're going to first. In the offense, you have a progression of your read 1, 2, and 3. And then if we don't get this coverage, then we automatically on this side. That is what quarterbacks are taught to do. When you're putting in the offense, for all those fans out there, when you're installing the offense, I'm sitting in the same meeting as these quarterbacks, and we know the first read, the second read, the third read, the check down. That's how offense is ran, right? I don't know what else to say. Maybe they see something different on film when they're in the film room, because film is totally different from what you see on TV. The TV version,
For sure.
The TV copy is totally different from what you see. But I'm done talking about it. Hopefully they can put this win together, Rami, and keep this because this defense is so good, man. I feel bad that these guys are this good, man, and they sit where they sit right now in the standings in this predicament, but it's still laid out in front of them.
The craziest part, yeah, like you said, it's right there in front of them, and I'm done. Like, I've had enough. I'm done talking. Like, there's no reason to talk about it because they're not going to do anything about it until it's too late if they do make a move. So the other thing that they are doing, they're trying to change things up. So they cut Michael Carter, who was very well liked in the locker room. I do think, Saleh said it was to get him opportunity elsewhere, and he's going to be out in Arizona. I think it was disciplinary, honestly. I think it was kind of the first time. Saleh will never say this publicly, but I think it was the first time we saw a disciplinary action from the Jets. I think it was kind of to shake up the room, kind of be like, hey, actions have consequences. After the crackback block that he got called for, which also negated a big play, he was benched. He didn't go out on the field the rest of the game. So that happened in the third quarter. And the rest of the game, Michael Carter was not in the game. And then he gets cut. So you could tell me that it wasn't disciplinary, but I'm pretty sure it was disciplinary. And I'm actually like, that makes me feel good. It's like, hey, they're actually holding people accountable, which is rare because we see them not holding Zach accountable. So it's nice to see that they're holding other people accountable. The other thing was Dalvin Cook had only 3 carries in the game. And I don't know why he only had 3 carries because he had, I think, 7 yards, 8 yards, and 9 yards on those 3 carries against Vegas. He actually looked good for the first time as a Jet, and they should have kept using him. So maybe those 2 reasons, maybe that's why they cut Michael Carter. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely not, because Michael Carter was only coming in on third downs.
So
It
you
had
could bring in
nothing to do
Dalvin on
like,
third down.
I mean, we'll see more, I guess, but he was a third down back. And now I think when you lose Michael Carter, now you got Izzy. And I'll say this too, because I really like Michael. I like him a lot. I've talked to him a few times, and he reminds me a lot of myself. When you talk about the things that he's done, and then you see them continually finding a way to get another guy in and kind of like bury him on the depth chart. He reminds me of myself, and I think he's a very good football player. I think he's a smart football player, savvy, and to me, there's 2 type of players in this league, Rami. There's good football players, right? And then there's system football players. And I think that a lot of guys who are successful, they're successful in a system. And we've seen that with guys leaving and going to other teams not being successful in certain systems. But then you see guys who continue to be successful. Those are good football players. Those are real savvy football players. And I do think with the right opportunity, Michael Carter is a very good running back in his league. Is he a number 1 running back? I think he can carry the load. I think Michael Carter can play every down. I think he's a 3-down back, but he's probably not going to ever get that credit. Like LaDainian Thomason told me that before. He said, "Hey man, you got an opportunity to like build this identity of what you want to be, because the league is going to put something, they're going to put a label on you, and that's what you're going to be. If you're an early down back, you're going to be an early down back. If you're a third down back, you're going to be a third down back. What label do you want them to be put on you?" But I saw from the time that Mike did have the opportunity that he was a 3-down back, man. And you talk about him not coming back in, being benched. I have nothing to say about that. Things happen. I told you certain penalties, man, you can and can't control. Sometimes you can't control, certain things.
So the crackback block, this is weird, right? The crackback block
Yeah.
is only if the guy's engaged with another offensive
No,
lineman.
that was the
correct?
chop block. That's a chop
The
block.
chop
So
block,
that's
sorry.
a high low. So that's a high low. That's when the guy's engaged up top.
So
Or
that's what he got called for, and it seemed
Yeah.
like he wasn't really engaged with Mackay, so like it was a borderline call, and then he gets benched the rest of the game after that. Like that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But there were,
I don't
I
know, but I
understand
don't know
there
what
are
was said.
penalties.
I don't know what was said on the sideline. You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? Because he's already, had his moments of, frustration that we
passes,
saw, and everything. And at the end of the day, that probably was his last straw. You have to blame
Yeah,
somebody though. Somebody has to be
especially
blamed, right? Somebody
especially when you
has
have a
to
guy
walk
like,
out on the plank.
yeah, I get it, and especially when you have a guy like Izzy waiting, to
Mhm.
have his opportunity, and you're trying to get him a roster spot. For Michael, like it's kind of sucks because he's going to a place with Connor and DeMarcado in Arizona,
Mhm.
who are both going to be ahead of him. You imagine? I know DeMarcado is a little banged up right now. Connor was banged up a little bit earlier in the season, so maybe he does end up getting his opportunity. But there are also 2 guys ahead of him there that you'd think would be
Mhm.
ahead of him on the depth chart. And you're bringing a guy in the middle of the season. Like I don't know how much he's going to end up getting into that scheme, but they look better, right? Since they have 1 week back with Kyler, they already look like a different team. So who knows? As far as Izzy, something interesting that Coach Saleh mentioned during his press conference was they're also going to use him on special teams, which stood out to me because maybe he's being used in the return game. You think that's a possibility? Something we talked about?
I think so. I think more so kick return.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fast
I think
guy.
kick return.
Burst.
Yeah, he's got that long speed, long guy, one cut guy.
Yep.
I think he'll fit perfect in the kick return game. I'm excited to actually see him, man. I
Yeah,
when
fresh legs. How much
when
does
they
that matter?
recruited when they brought him in, I kind of like did some film study on him, and he's actually a really good running back. Got that deceptive speed because he has that long stride, so he's definitely going to be able to fit that kick return scheme, one cut, and go vertical. And honestly, myself, man, not without being biased, I think running backs who are able to be explosive are the best kick returners because they're not afraid to put the foot in the ground and go, vertical.
Yeah.
And that's usually where the big returns come from. Make one guy miss and then, the rest is history. So I think we probably see him more so at the kick return position, and
I'd
they
like to
may
see
they
it.
may put him in on offense, and let's
I think
see
so.
if he can get a spark or something. I don't know.
Like I said, yeah, fresh
They might
legs.
need that juice, fresh legs, get that juice,
Yeah.
young, still hungry, and still trying to
He
prove
was good. He
himself.
was great in preseason. I know that means nothing, but he was great in preseason. The
It
last
means
thing
something
before
when
we
they keep him on the roster, Rami, and
yeah,
when they put you on practice squad, that
and they
gives a
lose
team a
Bam.
chance to come in to get him. So for them to keep him on the 53 and being active all year, that means somebody sees something in him. He's a special talent.
And they lose Bam Knight for him, so obviously they were looking at him as a guy that they wanted to keep around. They used the draft pick on him, so they like him, obviously. Another guy who they used the draft pick on, and they mentioned, and you talked about this, they're going to go a little bit younger. CJ Uzama keeps holding, and I get it. CJ's a good locker room guy, and everyone seems to like him, but he's been awful on the field. And coach said in the press conference they're going to be using more of Jeremy Ruckert. Now, they've said this all year, that they're trying to get Jeremy involved more. But this time I'm actually inclined to believe it. I hope we do see it. We talked about this is how it works. The younger guys are going to start to get more looks because if the older guys aren't performing, the younger guys are going to start to get more looks. So if maybe we get a spark from Izzy and Jeremy Ruckert.
I think so too. And this is the perfect time for the young guys to come in and try to gain some spark, gain some momentum, because I do think the New York Jets see the opportunity slipping away every week. And now that you're getting into these two divisional games, you have to almost try everything in your power to figure out what's going on. Make the changes that you need to make. Um, the young guys, I think, fresh legs coming in. Let's see if we can get a spark, even if it's on special teams or, just giving them opportunity. You're going to start to see that more. And honestly, if the New York Jets go in and lose these games and the playoff is out of the picture, you'll start to see more and more, younger guys get opportunities. We call that the interview stage where, no playoff and no playoff contention, and then you start to think about, is the coach going to get fired? Is the GM going to get fired? Because if those guys get fired, the GM brings in the coach, and then the coaches do all this film review. And what you put on film now is your interview, and it's an opportunity for either you to stay a New York Jet or for you to come. These guys come in and move you out. So this is a perfect opportunity for guys to like really, really, buckle down and interview. And just play football, man. Just win, man. Like, how long has this been since playoffs? Like 09, 2010?
2011. Yeah.
No, it wasn't 11 because I was in it, right?
No,
No, yeah,
so I guess it was
11.
the
Yeah, the year
10-11
before that,
season. Yeah.
10,
Yep.
11 season. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, I just want those guys, man. I like the organization, um, retired a New York Jet. So I just want to see them guys win, man, honestly. And whatever it
Well,
takes, make the changes and go win some football games.
Well, they have an opportunity in front of them. It's all right in front of them, like we said, and we'll talk about it after a quick break. We'll talk about the Bills game coming up. They pulled me back in. They did it. I said it wouldn't be done, but they did it. The Jets found a way to pull me back in and make me think that there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. You ever watch Dumb and Dumber? I don't know if you have. Either way, we'll talk about it and a whole lot more. We'll preview the game on Sunday against Buffalo. Another must-win game for the Jets where they are going to break your heart again. This is what they do. This is what the Jets do for the last 15 years, like we said. Well, all that and a whole lot more coming up after a quick break. All right, coming back, before we hit on everything else, I have a quick question for you because I was listening to Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco have a podcast together. Have you heard about this?
I heard about it. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I saw
Yeah, I don't
previews
really
of it,
listen to it
snippets.
either, but yeah, I saw this clip played on the morning show on our morning show at WFAN. Ochocinco famously used to take Viagra before football games. He said a half a pill and a Red Bull got him ready for the game. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but he said a half of Viagra and a Red Bull was like the best thing you could do to go out there on a football field. Have you experimented with that, Bilal?
Never, no.
I have to
Chad
ask,
was
right?
crazy. Chad is crazy. There's no way. I mean, some guys got
But
some
you don't think
crazy
he
like
actually did it?
rituals that they do, but man, I never. That's hard to believe, man. Red Bull and a Viagra.
Wasn't
That sounds like
wasn't the only
a
thing that was
great night
hard,
to
Bilal.
me, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let alone going out to play some football. That's crazy. That's insane.
You know what's funny? He's a guy who like got a bad rap in the league because it was back when the league was trying to like no touchdown celebrations, no like everything has to be buttoned up. Like he'd be such a superstar now. You know what I mean? If he like he was a superstar, but he'd even be like he'd be celebrated for all this stuff now if he played now. Like he played 10 years too early, I feel like, when the league was trying to shut it all down, you know?
He was.
So it would be fun. I do want to ask you also as a former player, and this question is more serious than that, but a players only meeting. I'm sure you've experienced a bunch of those in your career. What happens in those meetings? Do they actually make a difference?
I think I saw the players only meeting. Garrett Wilson mentioned, and honestly, it's a perfect time to do that because you're going into a divisional game where it really counts. Sometimes those player meetings, it's that it's around that time where I talked to you about where you're in a situation where there's so many scenarios that have to play out for you to reach the playoffs. So I think it's perfect timing. But my biggest question is, was it the players that wanted the players meeting, or was it a coach that pushed the players to have the players
Does
meeting?
that happen sometimes that a coach
Oh,
will
it
push
happened.
that?
They'll have it. Yeah, yeah. They'll do it. And
But what's really
those
happening in those meetings? Like,
you just talk about, you kind of go through an evaluation of, you know, by position groups. Are you meeting enough? Are you doing enough? You know what I mean? Like, maybe changing, your lift schedule instead of lifting, uh before practice, lift after practice so we can meet extra. Like there's so many different things that go into it. Like, um hey guys, are we walk through it enough, or do we need to stay and watch film more after we watch film together? Hey, quarterbacks, get with receivers, and O-line, get with the running backs, go over blitz tape. It's just it's you just trying to get in sync. You're trying to find a way to be uh uh get the ball rolling, to just be on the same page. I think, from a precision standpoint, it's receivers saying, "Hey, be alert for back shoulders," and "Hey, he's playing like this. Be ready for this." It's just that communication thing, and sometimes it's better to have it without coaches in there, and you finally have an opportunity to hear what the leaders are saying. The leaders will stand up. You probably have a guy represented in each position group that is appointed. Um, by they probably voted on by the team, honestly, and now you're hearing what these guys are saying. You have guys up there that are used to winning. You have guys up there that are young, coming up, still leaders, guys that are being successful that year, that guys listen to and say, hey, this is what needs to be done. Like, it's almost like, hey, do you think we need to take the pads off this, because now that's a big thing with veterans. Hey, do we need to keep the pads on this late? Do we need to take the pads off? Do we need more meeting time? Do we need more walkthrough time? Like, those are the things that you talk to the players about, and then I'm sure those guys will go back and communicate it to the coaches. You know what I mean? It's just a way of having comfort for players to talk comfortably about what's really going on around the building without thinking there's someone that can take it to the upstairs somewhere. But there's always a player on the team that I've been a part of that still goes and communicates certain things with coaches. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I've known teams that like appoint leaders, and to me, I don't think I like that, because then they're considered like you can't really be yourself because of what are they communicating with the coach and all these different things. So many things play a part in that, and it's hard to believe that Michael Carter's being cut had anything to do with that players only
Oh
meeting.
no, for sure not.
Oh
That like
yeah,
that's nothing to do with that. Like
yeah,
people correlated that. That's idiotic. That had nothing to do with each other. It was totally separate. And here's the thing,
yeah,
like I'm trying to figure out who the leader is that's running this because CJ, everyone talks about like being that leader and he's been one of the best linebackers in the league. He has credibility. He's been with his team. He's the captain. And everyone says he's a quiet guy, so when he talks, it hits more. But like, why would the defense even be in that meeting? Like, the defense has been one of the best defenses in the league this year. So like, why are they in a players only meeting? This should have to do with the offense. Like, and to me is like, is Zach Wilson invited to this meeting? Like, he's the problem. Like, if I was having a players only meeting, I look around and be like, hey, we know what the issue is. We know where the issue is. Like, I don't understand how he's invited. And on offense, who's running this? Like, is Cobb running it? He has no credibility. He just got here. He's not very good, but he's like the only veteran in the room. So like, it's weird to me. But the one thing we've seen is after these players only meetings, there's usually results. There's usually like something happens where at least for a week, like we talked about with the head coach getting fired, there's usually for a week, there's something that changes. And the Bills just fired their OC. That's a wake-up call. So we have, what is it? An immovable force against an immovable object or whatever it is. Like two forces crashing against each other that are both supposed to be very powerful forces. And what's crazy about the NFL, and this happens all the time, is the Bills fire their OC. You think if there's 12 men on the field, if there's not 12 men on the field, I should say, and they win that game, they fire the offensive coordinator? Probably not. You're probably not firing the offensive coordinator after a win when you're 6-4. So just crazy how the league goes where, think about it, Pittsburgh, like we talked about, negative point differential, negative everything, and they're 6-3. Minnesota started 1-4. Then they get to 4-4 with Kirk Cousins. Like, we're back, but he tears his ACL. They bring in Josh Dobbs, who, by the way, was in Cleveland, who now is also 6-3, but they just lost Deshaun Watson for the season, and they're going to be starting a rookie now at quarterback, who Aaron Rodgers actually said he really likes and watches. Cincinnati starts the season really poor. They get really hot, but then somehow they lose this game to Houston. Now they have a game tonight in Baltimore that they need to win. San Francisco goes on a 3-game losing streak. Oh, the world is ending, right? But they were the best team in football before that. Houston's totally out of it. They're a terrible roster, but they have this one kid come in, and now all of a sudden CJ Stroud's an MVP candidate, and they can make the playoffs. Denver, you thought was out of it, but because of a lucky win, right? Literally a lucky win against Buffalo, where Buffalo did everything wrong, and you still barely won the game. Now everyone's talking about Denver like there's something. Vegas fires their head coach, then wins 2 games in a row. Arizona was supposed to be the worst team in the league, get the first overall pick, but they bring back Kyler, so now Kyler wants to play, and he's going to play well. Tampa Bay starts off strong, and then they stink, but they win again this week, and anyone can win that division because New Orleans stinks too. And Tennessee, they start Will Levis. All of a sudden, they have fire because they start Will Levis, but then they get blown out this past week. Every single team in this league has a story, and there's a story all around the league. We're just so focused on the Jets, and it's crazy how when you look and you take a broader look at this, like, there's so many stories, and we're talking week in and week out, twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes, about our little universe that's the Jets universe. There's so much going on in the league. Sometimes you have to look around and be like, man, all this stuff is happening. Yeah, we won. So we lost 3 in a row, then we won 3 in a row, then we lost 2 in a row. We could turn it around. Every week is a new season, and it's why this NFL season is so awesome. It's so much fun. It's also so stressful, but like, the Jets have an opportunity. Sunday, Bills. The Bills have their story coming into the game. They're dealing with injuries on defense. Sunday, 425. Buffalo still favored by -7. Over under 40.5. What do you see going into this game?
I think the New York Jets need to establish the run game. It's going to be that type of game. They need to establish a run game. They need to take up as much time as possible because Josh Allen, as bad as he played against us the first time, he's that guy that'll come back and torch you the second time. So we have to be able to control the ball, control the clock. I think our defense has to start fast regardless. I think this time if they jump up in front of us, I don't think we can come back. So I think the defense needs to start fast, and hopefully that we can get some kind of spark since week 1, that special teams touchdown, that we can have a spark on special teams in the return game. I think that'd be very important. I thought it was going to be important against the Chargers, and it worked against us when they scored that punt return. But I just think that we just need to establish the run game. We can't afford to have Zach Wilson sit back and throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. We have to be able to establish the run game. You got 2 good running backs. Just establish the run game. Like, make that known. That should be the game plan going in against the Buffalo Bills, that we establish the run game. Defense, just start fast. We know you're going to keep him out of the end zone. Just start fast. Special teams, just make sure that we tackle the ball on kicking teams. and let's find a way to be explosive on the return team going into this game. I honestly think it's time to really get back to Breece Hall, putting the ball in his stomach and letting him just be Breece.
Especially up in Buffalo, it's going to be cold, 425 game. You know it's going to get dark there right after the game starts. One of those November games. It's going to be fun. Jets are in this. Like, the Jets have to go into this game feeling like we have a real opportunity here. Josh Allen's been a turnover machine. They just fired their OC. They're in shambles. Their secondary's in shambles. Like, this is a real opportunity for the Jets. What do you have as some X factors for this game? Do you have a score prediction or anything for this game?
This score prediction, oh my goodness, this is the
Jets have
I'm going to
Josh
go with the
Allen's
New York
number.
Jets. Yeah,
You're
I'm
going
going to
with
go
the
with the New
Jets.
York Jets. I'm going with the Jets. I think Josh will give us 2 turnovers and a possible
Yeah.
fumble. So I think he'll have 3 total turnovers. He's just reckless with the ball. Even when he's running it, when he decides to take off running, he's jumping, he's swinging the ball everywhere. I think he fumbles this game. I have to go. Oh my goodness, this is a tough one. I have to go 23-20. No, I lied to myself. I go 17. I go 17-14.
Jets. Here's the thing. It's all right in front of them. I believe that it's all right in front of them. They pulled us back in. But Josh Allen at home, firing the OC's a wake-up call. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to run the ball every damn time. Leonard Fournette might be back in the mix, right? He might get activated for this game. You saw James Cook dribbling the ball up the court. Did you see that? Where he's dribbling, he literally dribbled the football.
He's putting the ball on the ground a lot. That's why I think we'll win the
that
turnover
was
margin.
crazy because he puts the ball on the ground. Like, the fumble forward rule is only on 4th down, which is so dumb because he fumbled it forward, gained like an extra 20 yards because he fumbled the ball forward. Like, that was ridiculous. He would have been stopped right there. On the drive, the game-winning drive that wasn't in the end, but the touchdown drive at the 2-minute warning that the Bills had, they ran the ball every time. They didn't throw it a single time. And guess what? That's going to be the game plan against the Jets. Why would they throw it against a team that has your number? Look, the Jets should have lost the game against them in Buffalo or in New York in week 1, and Josh Allen decided to throw it to Jordan Whitehead 3 times. If he just takes care of the football, they win. I think Josh Allen's going to be out to prove a point. He's going to be angry. He hears the naysayers. He hears the media. And let's be honest, as much as we talk about it, I'm not letting them suck me back in. I wish. I'm going to sit down on the couch excited and fired up to watch this Jet game. But this Jets team is a bad, bad football team. We have to change our narrative. We have to change our mindset around this team. All year, all we talked about is, I don't know if it's because they had Rodgers, the Super Bowl expectations. This is the same team as last year. This is the same team that collapsed, lost 6 games in a row to end the year last year. Why is this team any better? They're undisciplined and they can't score touchdowns. Look at the AFC. They're 13th in the AFC, just record-wise. There's 12 teams better than them. So we can look at the record and say they're right there and they have these opportunities, but this team is not good. This team is tricking you right now because it's the same mistakes, it's the same quarterback, and I see them getting their teeth kicked in Buffalo. I think they're going to get blown out. My prediction for this game, I'm not happy about it, but you can't be 4-7 if you're not 4-6. I told you they're going to be 4-7. I still believe they're going to be 4-7. Jets changed my mind. Score a freaking touchdown. I think they're not going to score. I think the touchdown streak is going to continue in this game. I have the Bills scoring 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals. 34-3 is my final. I think the Jets. I think the Jets are going to get their shit kicked in this game. I don't see any way the Jets stick with Buffalo. I just don't see it. I think there's no way this team can keep up. And I'm not happy to say this. There's no way this team can keep up with the Bills. The Bills are so much better than this Jets team. The Bills have won playoff games. The Bills have been there. I don't care. Say what you want. This Jets team is bad. They've been bad. They got lucky that they beat Philadelphia. They got lucky that they beat the Giants. They've put themselves in positions to lose every game that they've played. They got lucky that they beat Buffalo. Their 3 of their 4 wins were lucky, and 1 win was against Denver, who I think is pretty bad too. This is, like I said, the 13th best team, meaning they're the 3rd worst team or fourth worst team out of 16 teams. There's only 3 teams worse than them in the AFC right now. So we talk about this team and we think about it. No, this team sucks and they're going to get blown out. And I think the defense is finally going to break a little bit. I think this is where the defense cracks a little bit, where they're like, my God, how, like, we're all out here trying and trying and trying. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe ultimately it's what gets the quarterback benched. Maybe it's what ultimately makes a change. But I think this is where the team starts to fall apart. I think we're going to see problems on the sideline. Defensive guys yelling at offensive guys yelling at defense. This is going to be a train wreck. I hope I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. I love the Jets. I hope the Jets win 34-3. But I just don't see it. I think this is where the Jets completely fall apart. I'm sorry to say that. One last thing before we go, because again, am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're not.
Like,
everything you're hearing is on point. And if you're listening, besides listening to the snippets that we put on Instagram, maybe you should click subscribe and listen to what we're saying before you jump to conclusion.
Here's the thing. I put the Instagram
you're hitting
videos.
all the points, Rami.
Maybe it's to make you look bad. No, it's not. Just kidding. I put the Instagram videos, the clips out to get people to listen to the full episode. The point is for the Instagram clips, for people to listen long form, for people to want to come hear what we have to say. And sometimes that means saying something that's a little bit borderline so that you come hear the full thing. You should listen to context before you go at us on social media. That's for sure. But I know people don't really care. So I have one more conspiracy theory for you. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Dan Orlovsky, you ready for this?
What?
Dan Orlovsky put out there that Bill Belichick has his next team. He's not going to be in New England. He has his next team. Think about it. Aaron Rodgers, always chasing Brady his whole career. Bill Belichick now also hates Brady because, everyone's saying I can't win without Brady. But if they came together as one, Bill Belichick comes back to the Jets, rights the wrong from so many years ago, and he becomes the Jets head coach who takes them to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Come on. Don't you love it? Next year.
I love it.
All right. I freaking hate this. I hope, God, I pray that on Monday we are sitting here talking about an incredible Jets win and we're right back in it. And we're going home for Miami on Black Friday and it's going to be an incredible environment. And the Jets, they pulled us back in again. They did it again. This team is a miracle. Somehow they find ways to win games. I think we're going to be talking about the season being over, jobs being on the line, and a real possibility of, oh my God, this could get way, way worse before it gets better when we talk on Monday. I hope I'm wrong, but that's all I got for now. You got anything else?
No, that's it, man. Hopefully like you said, man, hopefully on Monday we're talking about a win, talking about playoffs instead of who they're going to hire next.
Same old. Yeah. Well, I love the Jets. I hope people understand that this is not because I don't love the Jets. It's because I can't allow myself to get and I am emotionally invested. Like I am back in. Like this is not me trying to protect myself. I'm fully back in.
You have season tickets. You're in.
I just renewed my season tickets. I actually called the Jets because they raised my prices for a second consecutive year. Another losing season. I asked the rep. I said, "What is your honest assessment of the season so far?" They started giving me coach speak, like, it's a long season. It's been ups and downs, but there's still plenty good to come, I'm like, dude, that is such BS. Like, just say it the way it is. This team has been horseshit. Like, I can't. And then I went ahead and put down the deposit. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, man. I'm all in. I love this team. This team hates me. They don't love me back. I don't know what to tell you. All right, everyone, please like and subscribe. Listen to the full podcast so that you could hear the full thing, because I'm going to clip up something that Bilal said from this episode, no doubt, and people are going to get mad again. So until next time, let's go Jets. I love the Jets. I'll talk to you on Monday.
All right, I'll see you, man.
I'm sure we'll angry text during the game also, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, we will. Yeah, definitely.
Let's get Rex Ryan back. Rex.
I'll be coaching, though.
Oh, during the game?
Yeah.
Well, all right.
I'll probably miss
game's 4:25
early. Yeah. Well, no, I'll be there. I'll probably.
All right. So we'll talk. We'll talk during the game.
4:30. So I'll probably hustle.
Perfect. Rex Ryan, baby. That's the new head coach next year. Rex.
All right.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.